Hey guys, what's up? So I know that the title is a joke that is over a decade old, but today I want to tell you about what I do for a living during the summer. So I go to college in the fall and spring, and every summer I come back to my hometown and I work as a server in a nice restaurant. It's the best job I could ever ask for. Fantastic coworkers, great bosses, wonderful food, a fantastic pay. There's literally no downsides. Except for the customers. As much as I love working at this restaurant, my tolerance level for absolute bullshit has dropped, and it has for years now. I'm a pretty wizened server at this rate. I'm still fairly young. I know people who have been in the business for 20, 30 plus years, and so I've only been in it for 5. But every single year, I just feel worn down and tired to the point that I'm stopping the whole putting up with stuff that just shouldn't be allowed anymore. My first year at the restaurant, I was a child. I was 18, just got out of high school. I still had no clue how I managed to land such an incredible job, and I would have done anything to make the customers happy. They said jump, I asked how high. It was just like that every single table I had. And by the end of the summer, I was off to my first year at college with a pocket full of cash and pretty secure in my job. I was ready to come back the next summer and work. Next year I came back, I had more of my wits about me. I could tell what a customer wanted before they even asked. I could be preemptive. I knew which questions were appropriate to ask, which were not, and just how to handle a table in general. Now it's my 3rd year here, and I can smell a fraud a mile away. I can tell who's gonna tip and who's not. I can tell the people that seem like they're gonna be the best customers ever and then end up having a plethora of problems just so they can get a free meal. And to be honest, I'm sick of it. I'm well aware when I'm about to get totally shit on by a customer who truly just wants their free lunch. Now I can completely tell when I'm about to get a table who's gonna make it a game to see how much they can embarrass their waitress. And even though I can see that, there's no way I could just pawn that table off on a coworker or say, I'm sorry, you can't be served because I know you're going to be a jerk. There is no way around it. I still have to go to the table, do my job, and just suck it up. Part of my job is dealing with creepy older guys who are just going to leer at certain body parts that you don't want people staring at. And another part is dealing with really bitchy women who my coworker pointed out the other day only drink Chardonnay. It's not like all Chardonnay drinkers are bitchy women, but a majority of the bitchy women do drink Chardonnay. I don't know what that correlation is, but I just know I'm gonna stick with red wine. And then one of my least favorite things ever is when someone orders food and it's delivered to their table and they say, I can't eat meat, or I have a mushroom allergy. Something that if they had told me beforehand, we could have completely avoided any sort of situation. But due to the fact that they didn't want to tell me or honestly didn't think it was necessary, now I have to go back in the kitchen, explain everything, and I get to look like an asshole just so I can make sure that the customer's happy. And there's nothing wrong with having an allergy or not eating meat or whatever, but it is important for your server to know that if they're going to be the ones putting in your food. And as a server, I know that we make mistakes all the time. It happens. There's miscommunication, there's something that doesn't go in the computer that we thought there was, someone gets delivered food that was supposed to go to one table, not the other. Mistakes happen all the time. I've made plenty. But if a mistake can be avoided ahead of time, your best bet is to just try to be preemptive with it. Always say your allergies, always be very open about something that could potentially kill you, ruin your diet, whatever. And I know that I love working with people. I've created meals that were not on the menu plenty of times just so a customer could feel happy and content in their choices. It is not that big of a deal, especially if you go to a higher end restaurant. I don't want this video to sound like I'm not grateful for having such an amazing job. I absolutely love being a server. I love being able to talk to people. I love just having conversations, learning new things, and getting to see some amazing food being put together. But all that being said, there are a few customers who really do ruin my entire work experience. So if you want to avoid being on your server's shit list, the best thing you can do is go down this checklist and see if you've done something like this, or maybe you need to change your own habits. Have you ever shooed a server away that was just trying to ask for your refill just because you didn't want them to interrupt? Because that's pretty humiliating. One of my biggest pet peeves are when I approach a table and I'm trying to say like, hello, my name's Avery, I'll be your server today. Is there anything I can get you to drink? And before I can even say hello, I just hear, unsweet tea, lemonade, half and half tea. Just, oh God, I'm stuck. But people who would rather just cut you off ahead of time instead of actually hearing what your name is. But if you're going to skip over my introduction because you're incredibly thirsty, maybe carry around a bottle of water everywhere you go because you have a problem with dehydration. This has been joked about to death, but it is kind of serious. If you have a gluten allergy or you have celiacs, it's incredibly important for your server to know that, obviously. Like, you don't want to ingest something that could potentially really harm you. If you're on a gluten-free diet, do not tell me you have celiacs and then complain when what you ordered does not come out exactly how it's on the menu. Because when we hear celiacs, we have to scrub down pans, we have to triple check that everything is cleaner than it's ever been before, we have to make sure there's no cross-contamination. So if you order, you know, fish tacos and you say you have celiacs, you're not gonna get corn chips with that. Because when they're made, they come in cross-contamination with flour. So when you later on complain and tell me, hey, where the hell are my corn chips? I'll just say, I explained to you that we can't serve you anything with cross-contamination if you have a gluten allergy. Because we don't want to be the ones we don't want to be liable for you going to the hospital just because of flour. Do not try to get my attention by banging on a table with your fist, an ashtray, a glass, any sort of object to get my attention. I mean, I have some people who will they'll wave a little bit like, hey, can we get check? That I'm okay with. If you are making a noise just so I can see you, there's a very good chance I never want to see you again. I had a friend who was a bartender, and this man was slamming down his ashtray so that she would come serve him. And it was on a Harbor Walk bar. So she took the ashtray, chucked it out a window into the ocean, and said, don't ever piss off your bartender, and then proceeded to ignore him for the next half hour. So just be careful with how you choose to get someone's attention. And finally, I know that in Europe and some other countries, tipping is not part of life, but in America, unless stated otherwise, I'm paid via tips. And unless I've really screwed up and made your day just absolutely terrible, please don't tip me less than 10%. It's awkward to beg for money in a way, which is kind of what this is, but the only reason I get to go home and eat or support myself is by your tips. I don't get a wage, it's all taken out by taxes. The only money I get to take home is the money that's left behind for me. And I don't expect a perfect 20% out of every single table I get. And sometimes I get a 30% tip and it makes my entire day. But if I have a table that I'm really jiving with, I have a great experience, there's a rapport, we're all having a wonderful time, and then they leave and I have a 9% tip sitting on the table, not only does it make me question how good of a server I am, but it also makes me feel like my job isn't even worth anyone's time anymore. And I do know people who go out to a restaurant and they say, we're not going to spend more than $50. And they get their check and it's $48. And they say, well, $2 tip it is. That's incredibly insulting to the entire restaurant industry, at least in America, where tipping is a big part of the culture. I know that there's a lot of controversy about tipping and it should be phased out and a lot of other things in regards to the 20s and how it started. But for right now, it is a way of life. And 20% is kind of the new standard. It's not really 15% anymore. And if I don't get that perfect 20, it makes me look bad, even if I had a fantastic time with the table. My coworker the other night had a table that spent $400 on food and left her $10 as a tip, even though there was nothing wrong with the food. She is by far one of our best servers in the entire restaurant. They all loved her. They complimented her to the manager. Everything went perfectly, and they left $10. And instead of making, you know, almost $80, my coworker only made $10. And it took up her time, her space. It took up any chance she had for making more money the rest of the night, and absolutely dashed her hopes. And it's really depressing to see that, especially when you see a really, really great server who you're so proud to be friends with just be so dejected because of a table. I know that going out is supposed to be a great time for experiencing wonderful food, maybe being with people you haven't seen in a while, but don't use your fun night as an excuse to ruin someone else's entire workday. Treat your server with just a little bit of respect and it will go leagues. That's all I have for you guys today. I know this was less secret life of the American server and more Avery bitches about customers she doesn't like. But I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. Give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye.